swore that I wouldn't say anything bad about my fellow colleagues, he who is sinless and all that, but there is a lot of things I am miffed about in the anime sphere, and the notion of reviewing a single episode of the show has to be in one of my top 10 things I simply can't stand. My first experience of the topic of this ramble was from a website, Anime Feminist, and its review of the first episode of the show, first out of 24, mind you. It is unprofessional at best, batting at worst, but perhaps the biggest reason why I want this practice to die is that it is simply disrespectful to the anime in question. All of those juicy feminist themes, postmodern interpretations of gender-specific stereotypes, and all the other hoogly-boogly, you're not going to discern all of those from just one episode. It's like judging the book's story by just looking at a preview. And it's especially so with this anime because of its plot, though as per usual the descriptions of the show weren't any better. Tell me, which sounds more interesting? Alcia is a world governed by count, numbers engraved on a person's body representing any numbers related to their life. These counts determine a person's social status and power in Alcia. If a count reaches 0, the person is sent to the abyss, a place rumored to be worse than death. Or, a bunch of rebels fight against oppressive government in a world that strongly resembles that Orwell's book everyone loves. Anyway, Plunderer is a 24-episode action anime developed by the new studio Geek Toys. It tells us a story of Lichtebach and his assortment of friends, frenemies, and love interests fighting against the world as they know it, where you have to swear doing something all the time, or else tentacle hands from outer space will drag you into their rape dungeon. Well, at least that is the story they originally present, until, well, for the sake of avoiding spoilers, let's just say, suddenly demons. See, the problem why just reviewing one episode of the anime doesn't really do any sort of justice to the narrative is because the entirety of Plunderer's story basically depends on viewers not knowing about the big twist in the middle of it. Another problem, but with such an approach to storytelling, is that you have to make parts before the twist at least somewhat interesting, and that is where the anime falls apart quicker than a car made in a post-Soviet country. So here's how it's structured, okay? About 8 first episodes are dedicated to establishing the main characters of the story. Licht, the blue-haired girl that likes him, the police force that acts as his frenemies, the weird Deus Ex Machina, you know the drill. In fact, as you've probably seen, it's not a very new story for the Japanese. Then 3 episodes are dedicated to a twist, 7 episodes to establishing the backstory for Licht, and the rest of the episodes are fucking bullshit. It is a fairly generic narrative structure, all things considered, and admittedly the twist they provide is unexpected given the premise of other episodes. Unfortunately, for a twist to work, it has to be either foreshadowed, even if slightly, or the events before the twist have to, if not make sense, then at least be interesting to watch, and they are not, by any stretch of the imagination. What this plot considers to be a main episode would be deemed a filler episode in any other show, as they are nothing more than the main protagonist just bumbling around in various towns dawdling. You can probably argue that it establishes the character of the people you're supposed to care about, but their characters are so stereotypical that you don't need 8 episodes straight to explain them, and even then such stereotypes work best when we can actually control the characters in question. And then after the twist we get to see the sad story of our main hero, who is, as per usual with these narratives, has a very tragic backstory filled with twists and turns and 300-year-old dragon lollies and all the other stuff Japanese narratives like these tend to use. So not only your story is very banal, Plunderer, you're also turning the protagonist into a Gary Stew. The graphics are fine. They are clearly done by a studio that has to prove themselves before getting anything big and bombastic. The music is a typical orchestral ordeal. It is thematic and doesn't ruin the flow of the show, but neither does it have something memorable outside of that one song that always plays whenever it's time to remember something sad and tragic. It's honestly hard to conclude something about this anime, mostly because the anime itself left on a cliffhanger the size of an entire Iberian Peninsula. I guess before advising you to watch or discard the anime, answer yourself this question. Is a decent plot twist worth 8 episodes of mindless filler? If yes, then I would say the anime is mediocre, but watchable, and besides, all things considered, the plot premise isn't bad, it's the execution of it I have problems with. The biggest problem with Licht as a main character, or any other protagonist similar to him for that matter, is that we have to like not only his background, but also his character. Strip away all the sad stuff, and Licht won't become a likable protagonist. He will be a weird pervert that likes to look at panties, but is too scared to actually do anything further than that. If not, however, don't bother. There are many other, much better ways to kill your time other than watching this, especially if you want a story with a plot twist. I would advise you some, but almost all of them involve a black rat in a gimp suit.